It's late. You're taking the trash out barefoot, and the motion light snaps on behind you. Something moves at the edge of the yard. You freeze. Now take away the light, take away the house, and put a 900-pound animal there instead. That's the question nobody actually asks. We talk endlessly about ancient humans hunting mammoths and painting caves and taming fire. We almost never ask the boring, terrifying, practical question sitting underneath all of it. It is 40,000 years ago. You are barely armed, and there is a bear standing between you and everywhere you need to go. What do you actually do? I'll be upfront with you. The answer is not run. The answer is not climb a tree. The answer is a stack of things so unglamorous, so quietly built into how you already behave, that you have almost certainly used 3 of them this month without noticing. And the real answer, the one at the end, is going to reframe what you think escaping even means. Let's go. Start with the option everyone reaches for first, because we need to kill it properly. Running. A brown bear moves at somewhere around 30 to 35 miles an hour over short distances. That is roughly 55 kilometers an hour. Usain Bolt, the fastest human ever measured, with spikes, on a track, going downhill in the record sense of the word, peaked at about 27.5 miles an hour, for about a second and a half, in the middle of a race he had trained his entire life for. You are not Usain Bolt. You are also not on a track. You are on uneven ground, in the dark, possibly carrying something, possibly wearing whatever 40,000 years ago counted as shoes. And the bear is not doing its best. A bear at a flat sprint is barely working. It is the difference between you jogging to catch a bus and a car pulling away from a green light. So that is settled. In a straight line, over any distance that matters, you lose. Every time. But it is worse than losing, and this is the part that actually matters. Running does not just fail to save you. It actively makes things worse. Bears, like most predators, have a chase response wired in below thought. A thing that flees is a thing that can be caught, and a thing that can be caught is food. You are not escaping when you run. You are auditioning. So fine, you think. Up. Everybody's second instinct is a tree, and this one is worth killing properly too, because it is wrong in a way that is specific and a little insulting. Black bears are superb climbers. They have short curved claws built for exactly that, and cubs go up trees to be safe from other bears. A black bear will follow you up faster than you can get there. Brown bears are clumsier climbers as adults, with longer, straighter claws built for digging rather than gripping. But a brown bear can absolutely get itself several meters up a tree that has low branches, and a tree with low branches is the only kind you are going to manage in a panic. And you are slow. Getting a human body up a trunk is an awkward, noisy, two-handed operation that takes far longer than you think, and you have to do it while an animal covers the last 40 meters in about 3 seconds. The tree is not a door you close behind you. It is a place you are stuck, above an animal with unlimited patience, in a country with no rescue helicopter. Water is no better. Bears swim. Brown bears cross rivers as a matter of routine, and they are stronger in water than you are. So the tree is out, the river is out, the sprint is out. Which means the first real technique is not a technique at all. It is a refusal. Do not trigger the sequence. And that refusal, that flat suppression of the strongest urge your body is producing, is one of the oldest pieces of survival knowledge our species has. Somebody had to learn it. Somebody had to learn it the hard way, and then somebody had to tell everybody else. Now, about how ancient humans actually avoided bears, because this is where it stops being about the encounter and starts being about everything before it. The single most effective thing our ancestors did about bears was never meet one. That sounds like a dodge. It is not. It is a skill, and it is arguably the skill our species is best at on the entire planet. Look at how people who still live this way operate. Hadza foragers in Tanzania, sand trackers in the Kalahari, and hunters across the boreal north can read a landscape the way you read a text message. Not just tracks, freshness of tracks, Depth, whether the animal was walking or running, which direction it was heading and how long ago, and whether it was alone. They can look at a broken twig and tell you what pushed it and roughly when. Bears, conveniently, are terrible at being subtle. They leave enormous, unmistakable evidence of themselves everywhere. Scat you cannot miss, and can date by how dry it is. Overturned rocks and torn apart rotting logs where they have been hunting grubs. Claw marks on trees. Bears actually rub against trees and scratch them deliberately, leaving scent and hair behind, which means a bear's territory is essentially signposted by the bear itself. So the ancient human walking through a valley is not walking blind. They are walking through a landscape that is constantly telling them who lives here, how big they are, and how recently they came through. The bear is broadcasting. Our ancestors were reading. And the escape happened 3 days early, in the form of a group of people quietly deciding to camp in the next valley over. This is the thing that gets lost when we imagine prehistory as constant violent drama. Most survival is not a fight you win. Most survival is a fight you were never in, because somebody experienced, looked at some flattened grass and said, "Not here," and then there is night. Bears are most active around dawn and dusk, and plenty of them move at night, which is exactly when a human is at their absolute worst. Our eyes are built for daylight, for color, for spotting ripe fruit and reading faces. In the dark, we are close to useless, and every animal in that landscape knows it. Which brings us to fire, and I want to be careful here, because fire is where a lot of popular prehistory quietly stops being evidence and starts being vibes. The intuitive story goes like this. Humans got fire, fire scares animals. Therefore, fire equals a magic force field around the camp, and the bear problem is solved. And there is something to it. Hearths do show up right at cave mouths and in the mouths of rock shelters, which is exactly where you would put them if you were thinking about what walks in. Fire extends the useful day. It gives you light in the window when the predators are moving. Large animals are, broadly, wary of it. But here is the honesty beat, and it is worth saying out loud. We do not have a clean archaeological demonstration that hearths were placed specifically to repel bears. We have hearths near entrances, and we have a very reasonable inference. That inference is probably right. It is not proven, and anyone telling you that early humans used fire to drive bears out of caves is describing a plausible story, not a documented event. What we can say with more confidence is that fire changed the shape of the night. It made a defended place. Not a wall, a place with light and noise, and smoke that smells like something no animal in that ecosystem had ever evolved a comfortable response to. It did not make the bear impossible. It made the camp expensive. And expensive is the word to hold on to, because it is the key to everything that follows. Here is what people get wrong about big predators. We imagine them as invulnerable. 900 pounds of muscle and claws, an unstoppable engine of appetite. That is not how the animal experiences itself at all. A wild bear has no medical care. It has no safety net, no soft food, no second chance. A broken jaw is a death sentence, and it is a slow one, over weeks. An infected wound is a death sentence. A damaged eye in an animal that hunts by finding things is a catastrophe. Every single meal that bear ever gets for its entire life, it gets with a body that has to remain functional. So a bear does arithmetic, not consciously. But its whole behavioral repertoire has been shaped by an unforgiving equation, which is this meal worth the possibility of getting hurt? And the answer, for a bear looking at a group of upright, noisy, unpredictable primates who are throwing things and waving objects and refusing to behave like prey, is almost always no. Not because you are frightening, because you are not worth it. This is why the modern advice is what it is. Make yourself large. Make noise. Stand your ground. Group together. It sounds like bravado. It is not. It is a cost calculation being presented to an animal that is very good at cost calculations. You are not saying I will beat you. You are saying I will be a nuisance, and there is a dead elk somewhere with your name on it. And that behavior is ancient. Primates mob. Chimpanzees mob leopards, screaming and throwing and displaying. Baboons do it. Our whole lineage does it. Ancient humans were not inventing a new trick when they clustered together and shouted at a bear. They were running software that predates the species, which is also, incidentally, why you get loud when you are frightened in a group and quiet when you are frightened alone. Different problem, different program. But say it has already gone wrong. Say the gap has closed and the animal is committed. There is a rule that wildlife agencies across North America give out today, and it is strange enough that it is worth stopping on, because it tells you something about how this knowledge works. The rule is roughly this. If a brown bear is on you, you go down and you protect your neck and you stay still. If a black bear is on you, you fight and you go for the face. Two nearly identical situations, opposite instructions. The reason is that the two encounters usually mean different things. A brown bear at close range is almost always defensive, startled, or protecting cubs, or standing over a kill. It does not want to eat you. It wants you to stop being a problem, and a thing that has stopped moving has stopped being a problem, so it leaves. A black bear that presses an attack, especially one that follows and does not bluff, is far more likely to be treating you as food. Going limp for an animal that came for a meal is the worst move available. Now hold that in your head and notice something. There is no way for one person to learn that by trial and error. The experiment kills you. You do not get to run it twice, and you certainly do not get to run it twice on two different species. Which means that knowledge cannot be individual. It can only exist because somebody survived and told somebody, and that person told a child, and it got repeated around a fire until it was just a thing everybody knew. Read that again, because it is the whole point of the video. Every piece of bear knowledge our ancestors had was paid for by somebody's worst day, and then made free for everyone who came after. That is what a story is, in a forager band. It is not entertainment. It is a compressed file containing somebody's death. Now let me take the most famous story about ancient humans and bears and dismantle it, because this is where everything you think you know gets quietly taken apart. You have probably absorbed, from somewhere, the image of cavemen fighting cave bears for possession of caves. It is in illustrations. It is in documentaries. There was even a widely repeated claim of a Neanderthal cave bear cult, based on a site in the Swiss Alps called Drachenloch, where in the early 20th century, an excavator reported bear skulls arranged deliberately in stone boxes. A ritual. Skull worship. Trophies from the war for the caves. That interpretation has been picked apart pretty thoroughly. The arrangements are best explained by ordinary cave processes, sediment movement, rockfall, and the simple fact that in a cave used by bears for tens of thousands of years, bones accumulate and get shuffled around. The excavation itself was not documented to a standard anyone would accept now. The cave bear cult is not a finding. It is a story that got repeated until it sounded like one. And the war for the caves is mostly wrong too, for a reason that is genuinely delightful. The cave bear, Ursus spelaeus, was enormous, larger than most brown bears, with a skull that looks like something from a myth. And the chemical evidence from its bones, the isotope work on what it actually ate, points overwhelmingly to a diet that was largely plants. There is some regional variation and some ongoing argument, and I am not going to pretend the debate is closed. But the broad picture is that the most terrifying-looking bear in European prehistory was, for the most part, a very large vegetarian. And Europe was not even the strangest roster. When people first spread into the Americas, the bear waiting for them included Arctodus simus, the short-faced bear, a long-legged animal that in its largest individuals was well over half a ton. It looks, in reconstructions, like something designed to end a conversation. Whether it was a fearsome active hunter, a bulk scavenger muscling other predators off their kills, or a mostly plant-eating omnivore like so many bears turn out to be, is genuinely still argued over, and the honest answer is that we do not know, which is its own kind of unsettling. the scariest animal in the room, and we cannot agree on what it ate. Meanwhile, the caves themselves. Yes, humans and cave bears used the same caves. They did not use them at the same time. Bears hibernate. Humans occupied caves in the warm months and moved on. The archaeology shows layers, alternating, over enormous timescales. It was not a siege. It was closer to a very long-term timeshare, where neither party ever met the other, and both left their rubbish. So the Great Human-Bear War is largely an invention, which raises an obvious question. If the bears mostly were not hunting us, and we mostly were not fighting them for shelter, what was the actual danger, and what actually solved it? The danger was ordinary. It was surprise. It is still surprise. The overwhelming majority of serious bear encounters, then and now, are not a bear hunting a person. They are a startled bear, at close range, usually a mother with cubs, or a bear on a carcass it does not intend to share. That is not predation. That is an animal that has been given no room and no time. And the ancient solution to surprise is the same as the modern one, and it is almost funny how mundane it is. Be predictable. Be audible. Do not creep. A human moving through bear country talking at normal volume is doing the single most effective thing available, which is giving the bear enough advance notice to leave. Because the bear wants to leave. The bear has always wanted to leave. But there is one more layer, and I saved it because it is the one that actually changed the balance of power on this planet. Throwing. You are a member of the only species on Earth that can throw a heavy object hard and accurately. Not the only one that throws. Chimpanzees throw. They are terrible at it. A chimpanzee, an animal that can tear your arm off, throws roughly like a small child. The gap between us is not strength. It is architecture. Work published in Nature in 2013 by Neil Roach and colleagues laid out what is actually happening in a human throw. Your shoulder works like a slingshot. When you cock your arm back, you stretch the ligaments and tendons across the shoulder and store elastic energy in them, and then you release it, and the arm accelerates so violently that it produces the fastest motion the human body is capable of. That anatomy shows up in the fossil record around 2 million years ago, in Homo erectus. This is not a recent invention. This is deep equipment. And then we added range on top of it. The Schöningen spears, from Germany, are around 300,000 years old, carefully shaped, weighted at the front like a modern javelin. Later, the spear thrower, the atlatl, which turns your arm into a longer lever and roughly doubles what you can do. Later still, the bow. Think about what that means in front of a bear. Every other animal in that landscape settles disputes by getting close enough to touch. Teeth and claws are contact weapons. You have to arrive, and here is this soft, slow, clawless primate that can reliably hurt you from 30 meters away, and can do it again and again, from behind a rock, in a group, without ever entering the space where your enormous advantages apply. That is the escape, not the sprint, the distance. Because escaping does not actually mean getting away, it means not being reachable, and humans solved reachability with geometry rather than speed. We put a gap between ourselves and the thing that could kill us, and then we learned to reach across that gap while nothing could reach back. Which means, and here is where it goes somewhere strange, we did not really escape bears. We rearranged the relationship until escape stopped being the relevant category. Cave bears went extinct roughly 24,000 years ago, and the argument about why is still live. Climate is a major part of it. A herbivorous bear that hibernates through European winters is brutally exposed when the plants it depends on retreat. But humans, and their expanding presence in exactly the caves those bears needed, is very likely part of it too. I am not going to tell you we drove them out. The evidence supports something messier, with a cold world doing most of the damage and us pressing on a population that was already in trouble. And that is the pattern for a lot of large animals in a lot of places. Not defeated. Displaced. Outlasted. Squeezed by a species that kept its distance, learned the terrain, moved when it needed to, and remembered. Let's bring all of this together, because the shape of it is the actual answer. Ancient humans did not escape bears by being fast, or strong, or brave. They escaped by reading the ground days in advance, by choosing where to sleep, by keeping fire between themselves and the dark, by staying in groups and being loud and unappealing, by understanding, without being able to articulate it, that a predator is a fragile machine that cannot afford injuries, by putting 30 meters and a sharpened stick between themselves and the problem, and most of all, by talking, so that what one person learned in the worst moment of their life became something every child in the group knew before they could carry water. None of those are physical abilities. Every single one is a knowledge technology. The bear had the body. We had the notes. Notes copy. A body dies with the animal that grew it, but a warning told to a child outlives everyone who spoke it. So, go back to the yard, and the motion light, and the thing moving at the edge of it. Notice what your body actually did. It did not run. It stopped. Your head turned, your pupils widened, your breathing went shallow and quiet, and you spent a full second doing nothing at all except gathering information. That freeze is not you failing to react. That is the reaction. That is the same ancient circuit that kept a person alive at the mouth of a cave in a cold Europe you cannot imagine, and it fired instantly, without asking you, because it has been the correct first move for a very long time. You have never met a bear, but you are still carrying the instructions.